But for me, making sure that I give a proper number of lessons, it's usually about 7 hours. Because when you're giving a lesson, every second you're on.
How the hell do you get to, how do you become a scratch golfer? Like, take me through, I want to know what you expect in each element of the game, how much somebody should actually need to practice, what age you would recommend that they start at, and things of that nature.
Welcome everybody to the My Career Shop podcast, where on each episode, I get to speak to people from different careers and professions, so you get an idea of what actually happens in the day-to-day of different careers, to help you find out if this career is the right path for you. Our guest for today is Mike Vechery, a senior golf pro, PGA Associate, and owner of Mike V Golf, who teaches students how to excel at the game of golf here in the DMV, which, if you don't know, stands for the DC, Maryland, Virginia area. On today's episode, we will be discussing how to become a pro golf coach, the playing ability test, the life of a golf coach, how to become a scratch golfer, and what steps you need to take to become a pro golfer. So if you want lessons from Mike, check out his information in the link below. And if you love golf, are interested in becoming a golf coach, or want to learn the recipe to one day getting that elusive 70 on your scorecard, tune in for the rest of the episode.
Well, thank you very much for coming out of the podcast, Mike. Really appreciate it. Finally, I'm getting the opportunity to branch into sports. So today we have a PGA Golf Coach, a senior golf pro PGA Associate. So welcome to the My Career Shop podcast. And why don't you tell our guests who you are and how you became a golf coach?
No, thank you, Mayor. Thank you for having me on your podcast. I'm Mike Vechery. I'm 58 years old and I'm a golf pro. So I teach full-time at Oakmore Golf Course for Everybody Golf School. And I teach a variety of students, anywhere from someone who's just barely picking up a club to a top professional on the LPGA Tour. So I teach a variety of students and love what I do. And I'm hoping today that I can provide some information and some advice to any type of person or group that is looking to become a golf pro and what it takes to I guess, perform those type of duties and responsibilities to be a pro, but also how to get there.
Well, I took my first golf lessons with you, and I had never picked up a club at that point. So it was very interesting. I came along. I got some advice from my friend. Golf is not that type of sport. Go get lessons, and it'll really be a lot more expedient, and you'll experience less headaches on the course. And it was good advice. And so that's how I got to know Mike. And so tell me more. I don't think people are interested in my golf journey yet. Why did you actually want to become a PGA golf coach?
That's a good question. I wanted to become a PGA golf coach. I think number one is because I just love coaching. For better or worse, I like to see people improve. And when I see somebody improve like that, it feels like I've accomplished something. I've been around so many great teachers in my life, both in school and in sports. And I was the kid, kind of the unusual kid that a lot of kids aren't really interested in hearing about things. But I was always very transfixed by excellent coaches, what they said, how they said it, their performance, and how they got their teams or those individual players to really perform beyond expectations. So golf, I've been playing golf and been around really excellent golf pros since I was 14 years old. So a combination of loving the game of golf, just being around it for so long and seeing what it can do for people's lives and seeing what it can do for the joy in someone's life, as well as to see improvement. This kind of made me want to get into the game and teach the sport and get people to improve and really get in that type of, let's say, golf atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
And know what's out there, because a lot of people just don't have any idea, about golf. They think it's just knock around a white ball around a field, but there's so much more to it. A lot of lives can be changed with the people that you meet, the places that you go, or what you learn, or who you hang out with.
Well, I think anyone that thinks that you're just hitting a white ball around just hasn't had the opportunity to play golf yet, because that ball doesn't listen, and you really have to develop some consistency and figure out your swing if you want any even decent results. So that's funny, but that's cool. So one of the things that we're really interested in on the podcast is what are the steps that you had to take? So I know that there's multiple routes and you took the route of becoming a PGA Associate. The other route is you go get a university degree and you literally learn about the theory. In addition to learning how to play, you learn the theory about golf. And that is called the PGA Golf Management University Program. And then the other way is which is the way you went, which is the PGA Professional Golf Management Program. And that allows you to become a PGA Associate. So tell me a little bit about that.
Well, what I needed to do was I had to pass a general rules test, I had to pass a national test on different elements of the PGA, plus teaching, and maybe about 100 different elements of the game. So that takes quite a long time to study, and it's an intense type of test. So I was able to pass that. I also passed the playing ability test, and these are a couple of the things that you need to do in order to get, let's say, acclimated in the program and to start moving towards a full PGA membership.
Okay. We'll talk more about each of those, but do you need to actually become a PGA Associate to become a PGA Golf Coach?
No, there's actually a couple of different programs, and there's a couple of different groups that offer various certifications. Now, the LPGA has a certification, Ladies Professional Golf Association, and that's primarily, I believe, for women golfers. But there's also, other programs that provide that certification. So a number of, let's say, golf courses or driving ranges, they may require that you have some level of a certification in order to teach.
Yeah. What type of certifications?
These are certifications, teaching certifications, that you have to have some level of aptitude in terms of teaching and knowledge of the game. So these are various courses that you can complete online, as well as tests that you need to pass.
Okay. Now going back to the PGA Associate program. So you had to write some exams. I went online and I checked. It covers intro to the PGA PGM program, the PGA Constitution, intro to the rules of golf, and how to enhance your career once you're in the field, because there's so many different jobs that you can get. You don't realize until you actually look into it, but there's a lot of jobs in this field. And then the other one, and I think this is the one that people are more interested about, is the playing ability test. So this would kind of dictate how good do you have to be a PGA and pass the playing ability test. And so you had the opportunity doing it. Do you want to tell us your experience about the day of the test?
Well, sure. I'll tell you about a couple of tests that I failed in. Then I finally, let's say, passed the test. I had the first test, there were 40 golfers who were attempting to pass it. And I believe this was over at Belmont Country Club. And the greens were practically frozen. So every shot that you hit into the green, and if you could hit maybe a 8-iron, 7-iron into the green, it would hit the green and bounce over. So out of 40 people trying to pass the test, and everybody's a pretty decent player, not one player passed it. And you needed at that point, I think, to shoot maybe a 78 or 79. But the course was practically unplayable between the cold, the wind, and the hard greens. Not one person passed it.
So that was your first time. So you finally did pass it?
I finally did pass it. You had a course called Mountain Branch near Baltimore.
Okay.
So out of 40 golfers, I won the event. And then the the player that I was playing with, he was an older person as well. He passed it as well. So we were the only two students that actually passed it out of some 40 different players.
Do you remember what you shot that day?
72, 81.
Oh, okay. Nice.
And you needed to shoot maybe 78, 79.
Yeah. So I went online and checked. It's a 36 hole test, all played in one day. And your target score has to be whatever the course rating is times 2 plus 15. So if it's a par 72, that would be 144 plus 15, which is 159 is needed to pass. Pretty hard if you're playing 36 holes.
Well, I think the hard thing is a lot of times the course is set up like a regular tournament where the greens are very, very fast. The distances are okay, but a lot of times the pressure, where a lot of times when you're playing with buddies or you're playing, let's say, on a weekend type of round, it's a little different when you're playing in a tournament type of condition. sometimes it's a lot different when you have to have everything not only counted, but you have time. You have to play within a certain time. You can't be very slow. If you lose a golf ball, a lot of things mount and pressures mount. So you have to be able to regulate yourself, regulate the tournament type of feel to it, and then also perform. So if someone comes out and they have, let's say, a 7 or 8 handicap and they're trying to, let's say, pass this test, they're probably going to have a tougher time. You really need to be probably more of a, let's say, a scratched, maybe a 2 handicap in order to be able to shoot that under, let's say, a tournament type condition.
Fair enough. I mean, it's stressful when you play even with your friends, so I can't imagine when you have to write a test for that. But
I'll give you another addition. One of my very good friends, who was an excellent golfer and one of the most beautiful swings you'd ever want to see, he had problems passing the tests, and he was probably one of the best players I've ever been around. And he had difficulty, and he seemed to have a story every time he tried to take it, which I think was about 4 or 5 times. He eventually passed it, but it's very difficult. And you go to a course a lot of times you've never been to, and you may have had one practice round. You may have to drive an hour and a half away, and all of a sudden you get these new conditions. And they say, well, these are the local rules, and this is what you need to do to pass the test. So you might be seeing that course for the first time. And as you know, from even when we were teaching, sometimes those greens don't behave the way you think they're going to behave. So chipping and pitching and these types of things, and not knowing where bunkers are, can be a difficult type of task to perform, to shoot within the needed numbers.
And do you have a caddy?
No, you can have a caddy, but the caddy can't ride on the cart with you. You can actually ride a cart, but the caddy has to run forward and chase you, or chase the ball, or watch the ball. So you have to have somebody, number one, you probably have a good friend, or number two, pay someone well to follow the balls and to be there for 36 holes.
Wow. So there's a handicap just for the caddy as well. So that's cool. So I know, so you said you do not need to actually become an associate to become a PGA golf coach, but just for the purpose of going through it, how you actually go through the program is after you pass the playing ability test and after you pass the exam, you have to get employment at a particular place, and you can get tons of jobs, but the PGA Association, actually, the Pro Golf Association, actually tells you what those eligible positions are and where. And then you have to make sure you're up to date with fees. And there's different levels that you can actually go through in the PGA Associate program. But anywho, we're here to talk about what a PGA golf coach does. So you've been a PGA golf coach for how long?
I'm a PGA for 4 years now.
4 years. And how long have you been coaching golf for?
Well, I coached a lot of my friends over the past 10 or 15 years. So I always seemed to be, somebody would see how I would play. And they go, well, do you have some advice for me? And I had a lot of friends who would say, well, you come out and watch me on the range. So I would watch them and offer some advice. And I also taught my daughter how to play golf. So when she was 3 years old, I bought her a set of plastic clubs, and we started to go to the park and just hitting balls. And I bought her first golf club around 4.5 years old. And ever since then, I taught her how to play golf. And one of the great joys in my life is to not only spend time with her, but also to watch her grow in the game. So that's one thing that you can do with golf, is it's not just for you, but it's something that you can pass on to others, pass on to your kids, your grandkids, friends, or people that you care about. So it's really kind of the gift that keeps giving.
That's cool. That's cool. Well, once you actually become a golf coach, we were discussing this earlier. Are there any restrictions about where you can practice and how you can practice?
Well, ideally, you're working at a club or working at an institution or some type of golf course, and you're mainly working at that golf course. The PGA, what I found, tends to be very territorial. So if you're working at a particular place, other places are somewhat restrictive. They have their own golf pros and their assistants. So there's not a lot of sharing of, let's say, locations. So with me working at Oakmar a number of days a week, that's primarily where I give lessons. And I also give some lessons indoors when it's really cold. And I also give some lessons near Annapolis at another place called Severna Park.
Okay, so there's no technical restrictions, but they're territorial. So it makes sense. It's kind of like being at an office. You can't just jump to an office and practice anywhere. You have your set particular locations where your clients come, and that's where you can teach. Okay, now I want to get into some of the more soft stuff. To become a successful PGA golf coach, what type of characteristics do you need?
I think probably the most important thing is patience. You have to be very patient with each and every person, understanding what they're looking for in the game. So I think to have kind of an understanding of where they are athletically, where they are in terms of time and practice, how good do they want to be, and by what time, to kind of know what their objectives are is very important. So you have to be very patient. You also have to know that a lot of these people come and see you, they just don't have a lot of time, or they may never have really engaged in athletics. So you have to really get a good character profile of your students before they even pull back the putter or pull back a golf club.
Okay, so patience. What else would you say you need to, like, what type of characteristics in addition to patience do you think you would need? Because I think there's way more to being a golf coach. Seems pretty difficult.
Well, you have to market well. So you have to make sure that what you're doing is successful, but you also have to kind of take that to the street, or at least have students refer you to other students or to new potential students. That's very important too, is to be able to get the job done, is to actually show improvement.
Mm-hmm.
So certainly with what I've done in the past is you've got to market, but you also have to use various, let's say, film. You have to use certain before and afters, certain slow motion videos. You have to make sure that the student understands where they are, and they also have to understand what they need to do to improve.
Okay. So, but just in terms of your characteristics, so it seems like you have to learn how to market yourself. You need to have patience, and you need to be very good at golf. I think those are the prerequisites that you actually have to have, and some of the characteristics. What type of person would hate this job? Like, who would struggle as a golf coach?
I think somebody who doesn't like to be outside, if they have a problem with the weather. If somebody doesn't like being out when it's hot, or if they don't like when it's cold or windy, or it can be freezing out there. If you have a problem with weather, you might have a hard time coaching golf.
Okay. And are there some personality traits that you would think that would suffer outside of lacking patience?
I think you have to be, number one, be very confident. Be very confident in what you know, and be confident in how you get people to perform and get people to improve. So I think confidence in your own abilities is very, very important, because I think that transfers over not only in the teaching process, but also in the marketing process, but also in the confidence that you have to succeed in the career.
Well, I feel like confidence is one of the most important things you need in golf, period. Just like every single shot has to be taken with such a high level of confidence. It's like sometimes, I came to golf really late, and I had this false belief that golf was not a physically and as mentally demanding of a sport. And then you actually play it, and your body's like ridiculously sore. And the torque of that swing is so high. You feel exhausted after playing 18 holes, and it's like physically and mentally, right? So, I mean, I think confidence is just such an understated skill and characteristic you need to have just if you want to be anywhere near playing in this field. So definitely take that one in.
But you also work very hard at it. You personally, you worked hard at it.
Yeah.
So when you're working and hitting a lot of balls and trying to improve your short game and getting out and playing at different courses with your friends and trying to improve, it can be grinding, and you have to get past those bad rounds and say that was just one day, just one moment in time. But I know what the end result is. If I keep trying and keep on putting in some good fundamentals, then all this effort is going to pay off eventually. So you have to persevere.
Yeah. That's as a player. As a coach.
As a coach, yes, you have sometimes you can have a few tough days, but my girlfriend always asks, well, how was it? And went great. I loved it. Everything was fine today. So rarely do I have a bad day.
What does a bad day look like anyways?
If somebody's very upset and they've been working hard and all of a sudden I might not have seen that person for 2 months and they come in and go, I'm shanking all the time. I can't get over this. And I had one guy a couple of years ago who was shanking. I hadn't seen him for a long time. And I said, just let him keep hitting balls. And he goes, don't you have anything for me to say? And he only hit maybe about 5 or 6 golf balls. And, sometimes you want to watch someone do it. I'm watching more for attitude. Because if you don't have a really good attitude and you're playing golf, the game can eat you up. So you have to, I'm just waiting for the right time to come in, and he stormed off. And, obviously if you're shanking the ball, there's a couple things that are happening, and I know that. And you got to square the club face. You can be the path of the club. A lot of times you might be trying to swing and hit it too hard. But some people, they're just not very patient. And sometimes like that, if somebody's upset, you just deal with it. Thousands of golfers. If you have one person that's got a bad attitude to begin with, then it's just what may happen.
Yeah, fair enough. So why would you say people fail as PGA golf coaches? Because, if you ever Google PGA golf coach, there's hundreds and thousands. So why do certain people succeed? Why do certain people fail?
I think the main thing is to understand your student. And if you take an interest in your students and you tell them what you can do for them and what you hope to get for them to get out of the 90 minutes, let's say an introductory lesson with me, or over the span of a number of lessons, if you're showing them that they're going to learn, just like when I have someone that comes to me, I always say, when you leave here today after 90 minutes, first off, I hope it's the greatest 90 minutes of your life. In teaching, academics, sporting, whatever it may, I hope you leave here saying, that's a great golf coach. Mm-hmm. And I make sure when I'm out there giving a 90-minute lesson, a performance, to show them what they need to do to perform and to be better as a golfer, I want them to know that they're dealing with a true pro. Mm-hmm. Secondly, what do they want? What are they trying to get out of the game? And if I find out what they want and how willing they're able to do it, then I know what I can do to help them get there. And I always let them know you're going to learn 25 to 40 things today that you didn't know before this. Write those down. Take notes. It's like going to school, going to a university, or being before a great teacher. Write down your notes. Index cards, screenshots, whatever it may be. Keep detailed notes, and those will help you, guide you to getting better.
I know you made me do those.
Did they help?
Yeah. They definitely did. Especially with the iron swing. I remember it was really, really annoying. But I still have light years to go.
It could be even like out of the sand. There might be 7 or 8 things that you need to do, even in the address position, to become a better sand player, a better bunker player. And if you can refer back to those when you're in the sand practicing, then it can really help you and not have required necessarily another lesson in that. So just over and over, having your notes, referring back to those.
Fair enough. I want to talk a little bit about golf, but before that, as a golf coach, what does a normal and average day look like? Like, take me through. You wake up, how many clients do you like to teach, and what else do you do outside of just teaching? And maybe just take me through a lesson as well.
Sure. Well, I usually will give anywhere between 2 and 7 lessons a day. Now, a few years ago, I did some lessons 10 or 11 hours in a day. But for me, making sure that I give a proper number of lessons, it's usually about 7 hours. Because when you're giving a lesson, every second you're on, you don't have time to, let's say, go to the water jug, or go to the bathroom, or go on the internet, or play around, order lunch. I'm with a student, and I am on that time. So anywhere between 2 and 7, primarily, can be between about 4 and 6 on average. And that time is spent directly with the student. Now, after I'm done with a student, or let's say a group of students, or during that day, then I go home and upload videos. And I'll take anywhere between 4 and 12 videos per student. So I'm uploading videos, and I'm putting them in their own folder. And then I send them out to the student either that night or the next day. I also might have a few thoughts that want them to think about. And then I certainly require and request that they write down their bullet points and screenshot those to me. So I'm doing a lot of other homework. In addition, I'm also booking my own lessons. I'm kind of a free agent. I'm booking lessons, taking credit cards and finding out, what they're doing, what they hope for in their lessons. So it's almost like a restaurant in a way. I'm kind of doing a little bit of everything. And that's the part that's almost, it's your own business for me. There's lots of different jobs in the business that you can have. But for me, I'm running my own show. And I've always liked that.
Okay. It's really funny you say that. I took a lesson once, and I'm not going to say the guy's name, but the guy was not paying attention. He told me one or two things to do. And this was, I think, I'm not sure. It had to have been before you, because I think he did not make golf fun for me and I didn't learn anything. And he would tell me one thing to do, and then he would go on his phone and he wasn't really paying attention. And I was just like, what the hell is going on here? Seriously? There are people out there that don't take it that seriously. But anyways, so you teach somebody, you give them your uninterrupted attention, then you go home, you send people your all the videos, and then you tailor based on whatever the actual student wants, and you continue. And I'm guessing you had a program with me, so keep working on that program. Now, can you take me through like how your teaching philosophy a little bit? Like I remember when we started, you were like, we're starting short first. I mean, I never even took an iron swing for like, I think it was like 2 lessons or something in. So can you take me a little bit into your like teaching philosophy? What does a lesson look like with Mike?
Well, let me also add on to what we had talked about. Even today, in the last 24 hours, there are a couple of outstanding videos that I saw that were on Instagram. One of them had to do with the 60 swings of the LPGA players that were in the CME championship. So I took that clip from Instagram, and I also took another clip that I really thought that showed an excellent lag in a South Korean golfer's gym. It was really showing how the swing happens. It was an excellent demonstration. So what I did was I took those 2 clips and sent it to all my current students and said, these are 2 of the most important clips that I've seen in golf. Look at them, watch them, and tell me what you notice. And I've had responses from nearly everybody. So it's important to interact and engage with your students, mentoring them, showing them that they can succeed and that you're the person that can do it for them. So when I first see a person, I always want to get a sense of, I ask them a variety of questions. A lot of the questions that you're asking me right now. And from there, what I do is I start on the putting green, because I always believe that you want to start from the cup back. A lot of times when I see someone, the way they putt, is a lot of times the way they think, or I get to see their mannerisms, and I get to see their setup, and I get to see how talented they are in terms of touch and finesse and what experience they have. From there, I give them some ideas on how to improve their putting or how to improve their green reading and what they need to think about when they get to their ball on the green. From there, I work on chipping and do a lot of the same things. I get to see their setup. I get to see how they take their grip and how they take the club back and what they're thinking about, and where they're determining where they need to land the ball and how to view a green and how to view the golf course. From there, I work up the pitching. I work the iron swing and then the driver swing. So I want to make sure that all major components of, let's say, golf, the actual holding of the golf club, from the putter all the way up to the driver, is performed and done with video, with demonstrations, with before and after. And I make sure that they really get a sense of not only where they are, but what they need to do to perform better. And I might use photographs, I might use video from other golfers. And it's kind of an all-encompassing type of lesson where they're really going to get a sense of who they are as an athlete, who they are as a golfer, and what they need to do to perform better. And learning how to swing the club and learning how to play golf better overall.
Yeah, I mean, that's what makes golf so challenging, you could have a lovely driving day and then your iron swing might be okay. And then your chip has to be on, your putting has to be on. Like every bloody element has to be so good. By no means am I a great golfer, but I got to be honest, it's such a stressful game. Obviously, because I'm not even that great at it. But anywho,
But where would you be after watching different players? I'm sure you've watched or walked along hundreds of players on a driving range or on a golf course. You get to see where they are. You get to see where you are right now. Where do you think you would be without any of the golf instruction?
So I mean, when I first played, I think I shot like a 130, and that's a fake 130. It's like you give some, exactly, half of them are mulligans. So I mean, you're probably like a 150. And I've only played golf for a year, and prior to I had an injury, but prior to that, I think the lowest score that I had was a 95. So I mean, and that was in less than a year. So I mean, the funny thing was I don't really understand golf norms because I trained with you. So because I trained with you, other people told me that that's great development, but I had no clue because I mean, when you practice from a trained instructor, you have better habits than somebody that's never played, right? And so I don't really understand golf norms, but I can tell you it's an incredibly hard sport, requires a lot of training and instruction and a lot of discipline and diligence. But anywho, here I go talking about my golf game again.
Everybody loves to talk about their golf game.
That
if I had $1 for everybody who came up to me and asked me a question about golf when I was out, I'd be rich. People love to talk about golf.
Yeah.
And all their great shots they've ever hit and all the reasons why golf is a painful or tough game to play.
It's really annoying. So you know how mental golf is? Since we're talking about just like regular golf, I've had so many birdie putts that I've blown. And do you know how, like, nothing pisses me off more than that? Like, since I started playing, I think I have one birdie. And it's like the amount of birdie putts I've blown, it just drives me nuts. Like, I think that ruins like the next 4 holes for me because I get so excited. I'm like, oh man, it's only like 4 or 5 feet. Like, this one's easy. And then you go and then poof. Anyways, here I go again. But we were talking what you do. And you were telling me you train your students, you send them videos. I'm interested in, outside of just the golf aspect and taking me through what the training involves, what are some other ancillary things that are involved in being a PGA golf coach that I wouldn't know unless I actually began the profession?
Well, let's say outside of my path, a PGA golf coach or let's say an assistant golf pro, they might, let's say, work in the golf shop, work in a retail operation, let's say work at the PGA Superstore or work at Golfdom or something like that. They also can set up tournaments or set up golf carts ready to go out for the day. Mm-hmm. The other thing is they might be doing some merchandising. Mm-hmm. So there's a variety of things that, let's say, a golf pro or assistant golf pro can do during the day.
Mm. But, I mean, you have your own business, right? And I'm guessing a lot of golf coaches have their own businesses and they set up shop at a particular golf course.
Golf course or
right?
driving range, yes.
Yeah. And so outside of just the golf stuff, what other activities do you do on a day-to-day to keep your business going?
I might be updating my website, adding the testimonials. I have an Instagram account, which is very active. I might advertise through Instagram.
What's your Instagram account?
Mike_V_golf.
All right. I'll put that up regardless, but I thought I'd give it a shout out.
And so a lot of times I'm putting together videos. Yeah. If I take a student, let's say, who's been shooting 120, and all of a sudden after 10 or 12 lessons, they're shooting 88 to 93 or broke 100 for the first time, I'll put together a video about where they were, maybe what they were doing the first lesson, and then what they've done since with the short game, with the long game, some scorecards showing what they've done, and maybe a testimonial. So I'll put together videos. So it's almost like there's a little bit of Hollywood in it. There's a little bit of marketing, certainly interacting with students. They're sending me texts about how they're doing, maybe on a Saturday night or a Sunday afternoon after they played. So there's a lot of interaction with my students, a lot of mentoring. And that's one of the best parts of the job, one of my favorite things.
So now we've covered your tasks as a PGA golf coach. Do you find the job stressful?
I'd have to be honest with you. In terms of stress, what I do, I don't find it stressful at all.
Okay.
I find it, very fulfilling. But in terms of stress, I just don't find much stress with it for me. Now, if you don't have students or don't have let's say a stable of students, it might be stressful if you're not getting students. But I've always been able to have a number of students. They're referring business to me. I'm marketing. So everything's going exceedingly well that way. But in terms of stress, I think the best thing that you can do to avoid stress is make sure you know what you're capable of, and to make sure that you're very realistic every day that you go into work or when you teach somebody. In terms of overall stress, no stress at all.
Okay.
And that's one of the joys of what I'm doing is that for me, I love going to work. I love helping people, and I love to get those texts or those phone calls when someone says, I just shot 73. And I've never shot 73 before in my life. Or if somebody breaks 80 for the first time. That was our original goal, and they do it. That makes me overjoyed.
Fair enough. When you get people to 80, that's a great feeling. I can't wait till that day, one day. So after you've been coaching for how long?
Coaching overall for 7 years.
7 years.
But like I said, I've been coaching friends and coaching my daughter for probably 20 years with friends and such.
So do you ever feel like the job gets redundant?
No, I love the job and love what I do, or career. So I don't feel like it is redundant. In some ways, each individual person has kind of an idea of what they're looking for. And I'm trying to be their coach, their mentor, their friend, and someone almost like a big brother or a dad in some case, to try to help them get to where they want to be. In golf, and a lot of times we talk about other things. So I don't think it gets redundant. I think the only way it would get redundant is if I got tired of people in general. And, when they're come to me, this is their leisure. This is their fun. So this is the time that we can enjoy each other. I can help them. We can enjoy each other's company, but I can also help them improve in an aspect of their life that they want to see something improve. Because if they can improve their golf game, a lot of times that opens up new friendships, new trips, just a whole different type of life sometimes. And I've had that happen quite often. Who knows, you might be able to meet a best friend or meet a mate or have a new career because you're on the golf course, you're at the right place at the right time. Just so happens that you played a little bit better and enabled you to open up that one door that you didn't think would have happened without it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I had a trip. It was just me and my friends. It was great. And golf has definitely opened up a different area of my life. It's been interesting. But again, we will talk about golf. So how much does a successful PGA golf coach earn? How do they earn money? What would you tell someone who's just starting off about the salary, I guess the income of a PGA golf coach, and what they should be expecting and how to actually maximize their income?
Well, I think it really varies. It's probably the one career where there's probably as varies as much as any career. I probably liken it to being, let's just say, an actor. Mm-hmm. There's some of those who are struggling actors or even a struggling artist that are barely, making their bills. They might come out and be an assistant golf pro. They might make $20,000 a year, $25,000 plus maybe a percentage of lessons. But then there's some who are extremely successful. Some golf pros, the top-notch golf pros, can sometimes charge between $500 and $1,500 an hour. But those are the ones who've been in the business a long time, who are teaching some of the top professionals. So it can really range. Now, in terms of being a director of golf and going through the career path, some directors of golf can make, well in excess of $100,000 plus. And it really depends, certainly, how many students you have, what you charge, how many lessons you want to give. So I think it can really vary, but certainly you can make a decent living doing that. Teaching golf and certainly being a golf pro. But it really depends on the ability and the talent, and certainly being in the right place at the right time.
So if you're a young golf coach, just entered the market, how much would you recommend that they charge for training somebody?
Well, a lot of times that's really based on what the golf facility, what the golf course, or what the golf school is charging. Now, I charge completely different than Everybody Golf School, where I'm an independent contractor with. So my rates tend to be anywhere between 50 and 70% more than what the others charge. And that's really due to, let's say, the success rate that I have with my students, as well as the structure that I have with their improvement. But in general, 30-minute lesson might be anywhere between $40 and $60 an hour. Or $40 and $60 for a half hour. An hour might be anywhere from, let's say, $70 to $120 an hour.
And that's what you would recommend for somebody starting off, right?
Probably somewhere in there. And certainly they're going to be, as I mentioned, they're going to be what the facility allows them to charge.
Okay. Okay.
Some already, they might have an income, a salary, plus a percentage of the golf lessons.
Okay. So when you become a PGA golf coach and you go to a particular golf course, they'll negotiate with you salary, and you can also like upcharge on top of that just to, supplement your own income. Is that how it works? Is that the norm? What would you say is the norm?
I think the norm is that you need to work a certain number of hours in the shop. Then you have a certain number of hours that you're allowed to teach or to play with the members. So it's kind of a divided time. That's normally. Now with me, I'm 100% golf coach. So the school that I'm with, I just teach independently. I don't have any time that I need to be in any retail shop. I don't have to prepare for any tournaments, setting up golf carts or merchandising or anything like that. So there's a variety of different paths that you can take based on whether you want to go with a country club, a very private country club, or let's just say a per fee daily golf course or a municipal golf course, working for the city or working for a county or working for a golf school at some golf course. There's really a variety of different ways that you can be employed or to have your own business.
Okay. All right. So I want to discuss this a little bit more because I don't have a grasp over income yet. And I don't think there is an answer. I just want to discuss it a little bit more. So what I took was a PGA golf coach essentially has the opportunity, depending on how skilled they are, to somewhat negotiate their contract. A lot of people will have multiple jobs at the same exact golf course, and they can deal with, I was reading online, they're involved in making sure the greens are well kept. They're involved in the pro shop. They're involved in lots of other things. And on top of that, they teach. And then you also have the ability to be an independent contractor. Do you have any advice for somebody in terms of how they can actually approach the independent contractor route rather than having to play so many different roles at a golf course?
Right. Well, being a PGA member or being in the PGA program or being in the golf community, certainly the one element that you just mentioned is the golf course. Greenskeeper, the superintendents of America. You can go that route rather than teach or rather than dealing retail or dealing with members or golfers. You can work on the golf course where you could be doing mowing or sand traps or certainly any type of an agronomy type of part of being a greenskeeper. So that's one area of the business. So there's a lot of different areas within the business where you can find it. Golf is a huge business, billions and billions of dollars, and certainly golf architecture. You can work for various organizations that set up tournaments, working for the USGA, working for the PGA. So there's just thousands of different jobs that you can have. Now, my job as an independent teaching instructor is there's a number of people out there like me. But it's a smaller type of number of, let's say, like me, than it is working at a country club.
Fair enough. Are there some special perks to being a PGA golf coach that you would not know unless you actually become one?
Well, as part of the PGA, you would have a ticket to the Master, tickets to, let's say, the PGA Championship and the Ryder Cup. One nice thing that I have is being in the program is that most of the time I could call a country club or call the head pro of a country club and ask if I could come out on a Monday or come out on a certain day. and play the golf course. And oftentimes, bring out a friend or have a foursome. So that can also be kind of nice. Recently, I took 3 students to Washington Golf, really beautiful country club in Arlington. We had a marvelous afternoon.
And
Great golf course, and the pro was super nice and set us up just like we were some of their best members, and it was a really enjoyable afternoon.
And so you don't need to be a member at these clubs for you to play there if you're a golf coach. Because I mean, I've looked at these fees, they're like 40 to 100 grand.
Well, I don't take advantage of it too much, but if there's a couple days a year where if there's an area that or a golf course that I want to play, then I'll make a phone call.
Wow. I mean, that's a perk. And I understand you're not taking advantage of it, but that's definitely a big perk because, I mean, it's quite expensive to play otherwise. And I'm guessing country clubs are kept up very well.
Well, definitely. You pay a lot of those fees, those upfront initiation fees, and certainly sometimes up to $1,000 a month or more just to have membership. So a lot of those fees go for the golf course upkeep.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's cool. Any other perks you can think of? Masters tickets, Ryder Cup tickets. Those are pretty cool in itself. And the potential to visit some country clubs and other prestigious clubs as a coach. Anything else you can think of? It's quite a bit already. I'm just wondering, maybe there's something else.
If there's a place that, that I want to attend, let's say even when I went to Kiowa, you might mention, I'm in the PGA and do you have a PGA discount? So there's probably scores of companies that provide discounts. I mean, the PGA Senior Championship, I believe, sponsored by KitchenAid. So if I wanted to buy KitchenAid products, I think they offer you a 10 or 15% discount. Rental car companies, insurance. There's a whole host of various companies that offer various perks or discounts for people in the PGA program.
That is cool. That's definitely a perk. I did not know that. Okay, cool.
You ready to be a PGA pro?
I might consider it, man. I enjoy golf. I mean, there seems to be quite a few perks.
You definitely have the delivery. I mean, I'm very impressed by this whole setup.
Thank you, man.
So if you can put together something like this, when you're teaching, you'd be well above.
I mean, I need a few thousand hours of playing practice because, I mean, I do not underestimate the game of golf anymore. Golf is really funny. I grew up playing basketball. If you ever watch basketball, people like Stephen Curry are like borderline insulting because they make the game look so easy, right? When it's not. It's an incredibly difficult sport. And golf gives you that false impression that if you can master this very, very simple swing operation, you'll be very successful at it. Turns out it's really, really difficult. Even if you get it done once, it's very difficult to replicate over and over and over again, and then playing through a gazillion different conditions, different temperature, different moisture conditions, different sand, fairway, rough. Jesus Christ, to become good at golf, I feel like requires a lot of time and dedication. And although there's that false impression that it's just one swing, it's just not like that. So, I mean, I don't think I would try to become a PGA pro.
Well, you never know. I have a lot of people that come and visit me when they're in their early 40s. They say, I want to be on the PGA Senior Tour at 50.
Oh, okay.
Can you help me get there?
So what do you need to shoot to be on the senior PGA?
Oh, well, you need to be one of the best players in the country at 50 or above.
Oh, okay.
So it's very difficult.
What are they shooting on? I mean, I guess
they're probably about +4 handicaps.
Oh, wow. So they're still damn good. And do they play from the same tees?
They usually play from the blue tees, yes.
Oh, okay. All right. So as a senior PGA golf coach, how much do you work on a week? I ask this because, a lot of the professions who I question, they're concerned about work-life balance and how much of their week is dedicated to work, right? So how much does somebody like yourself work on a daily, week, or do you even keep a track of this stuff?
Well, I do keep track of it, but if it's extremely cold and it's the winter, it might be 12 hours, 15 hours. But a lot of other hours are spent. Even if I work during the summer and I'm working 25 to 35 hours in a week, there are a lot of other hours that are spent, as mentioned, with videos, with texting, with marketing. So in general, it's probably going to be anywhere between, I'd say, 30 and maybe 55 hours a week.
Okay.
combined.
It's pretty busy.
It's pretty busy, but it's all a matter of, how much you like it and what you're doing to grow your business and also help your students and try to help them get to where they want to be.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Do you feel like you have work-life balance?
I think I just have it right now.
Okay, fair enough. It's kind of an odd question because, in most of the professions, that matters a lot. But when you're doing something that you love all the time, such as playing golf or teaching golf, it's like a hobby. So I don't think people really delve into whether they have work-life balance because, they're just having a good time out there.
Well, I've certainly heard from many different people that there are a lot of golf pros that do get burned out in a lot of teaching because when they're with a student, they might be taking away time from their family. And I've definitely heard it a few times that there has to be some balance because you don't want to take too much away from the family because you want to spend time with them and make sure they're getting the time and the love that they need and require. And just to make sure that in terms of your overall ability to be at your best during the day, that you need to make sure you're fresh and that you're not burning yourself out and that you're not overly stressed. You want to go in there with a fresh face, happy, ready to go in there and listen, work, and help improve. So all these things have to be accounted for before or once you decide how many hours you're working and how many hours you're going to be at your best. I liken it to almost being on, let's say if you're on Broadway, you know that you might have one show or two shows and those shows might take 2 or 3 hours, but you have to make sure that you're ready for that next performance.
Fair enough. I wouldn't expect burnout because it seems to me as a golf coach, you get the opportunity to somewhat dictate how many students you take. But I'm guessing there's multiple factors that influence how busy you want to be, right? So
I think there are, and certainly working, let's say, at a club or within some type of system where you're required to be there 40, 50, 60 hours now. Some assistant golf pros are working 60 to 80 hours a week when they first get into the business. So, and even some directors of golf are working very, very long hours to satisfy the club or the membership or to do everything that it takes to be a successful top golf pro or director of golf. So they have sometimes a very stressful job. I'm just in some ways where I'm very, very lucky to be where I am. And I appreciate it. And I always want to make sure that that appreciation can come through with my students, that I have time to follow up with them and to do what's needed to help people move along in their improvements.
Wow. All right. So, you obviously really enjoy your profession. So this should be an easy question for you. What do you like or love about being a PGA golf coach?
My favorite thing is getting a call or getting a text from a student when they break 100 for the first time or break 90 for the first time or 80, or, when I had a student who was 15 years old and he broke 70 for the first time. He shot 69. He was a 7 handicap and he had never broken 70 before. And he shot 69 and the mom texted me, and I love getting those texts. And I get them a lot. My student Maggie, who's the Herndon police chief, she came to me at 110, 115 about 4 years ago. That's what she was shooting. She's taken some lessons with me over the last 4 years. And this year, I think she broke 80, probably 16 out of 20 times. And the last 3 texts that I've gotten from her in the last month and a half, she shot 75, 74, and 73. And she missed a shooting par at Laurel Hill, which is a very tough golf course in Lorden, by just a few inches. So when I get those kind of interactions with students after they play extremely well, it's very gratifying.
Yeah.
I really love that.
Well, you go, Maggie. It must be, breaking 74, 75, Jesus Christ. So, I know you love your profession. What are some things that you dislike or you find challenging about being a golf coach?
I think the toughest part for me being a golf coach is when a student comes to me and they want to become a better golfer, break 100, break 90, but they either don't put in the time or the effort and they don't follow my instructions. They don't write down their bullet points. They don't watch the videos. They don't practice. Life gets in the way. Family gets in the way. Their job gets in the way. But if they have something that gets in the way, that's fine. But if they don't put forth the effort, and I can tell right away, I'm very good at deciphering who's trying, who's not, who's putting the effort. And if they're not putting in the effort, they're expecting it just to come to them. But you do have to put in the time. As you mentioned, even with you as being as hard a worker as you are, you got to learn the swing, feel the swing, get in the reps. And if you're not doing that, you're not going to improve as much. I always tell students who are not following these little things that I ask them to do, if you do them, you're going to improve.
Yeah.
If you don't, you're going to tread water.
Yeah.
So I always like everybody to give their best effort and to be honest with themselves and really try hard. And if someone doesn't do that, I get a little disappointed, but you know what? That's what you have to deal with. Everybody has their own way of doing things, but I like it when someone puts forth their best effort, especially when they're taking lessons from me and paying the fees that I charge. I want them to improve. I'm doing everything I can, from giving them the lessons to following up, sending videos that I think can help them, and being a major motivator for them to let them know that they can do it.
Mm-hmm. You know, it's funny because the videos really helped me, and I'll tell you why. When I first started playing golf, my IQ was 0. Like, I literally knew nothing about golf, other than the fact that there are clubs. I didn't know what clubs were for what distance. I didn't know what the purpose of a driver was, a wood. And so when I say I had a low golf IQ, I knew nothing about the sport. And so when you were explaining all those things in those videos, at the time, I never understood them. But as time progressed and I kept referencing back to them, it started to actually go into my brain and be like, oh, that's what he meant there. That's what he meant there. That's what he meant there. And then my notes got better too, because I realized if you have the ability to explain golf a little bit, then that means you're developing a higher IQ and understanding some of the more nuances of the sport. And so, I mean, those videos really helped me because you have to swing a club a few thousand times before things make sense to you, right? Like the importance of particular posture. I mean, you always used to tell me, look at the target. I remember that was one thing I was sucked at. I didn't look at the target as much. And then some of my friends would hate on me because I'd be looking at the target too damn much. But
I always say 2 or 3 times. You don't look at it 10 times to get into it, where you have a difficult time pulling it back. But.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I'm not a friendly golfer, but
golfers always have a sense of going one end and then they go completely to 180 and back and forth. We have to find the right amount of everything.
Yeah. I mean, the checklist in my brain, I'm still like a junior golfer. So
how many swing thoughts did I say you had to have?
I don't remember.
Let's see. There you go. You go back to your notes.
Yeah.
One good swing thought.
Yeah.
It could be rhythm. It could be finish the golf swing. It could be a little bit of lower body, but never inundate yourself with too many swing thoughts.
Yeah.
That'll take away from the natural flow and rhythm of the swing.
Yeah. Yeah. Fair enough.
So I'm just testing you here, America.
Well, so what happened was, I was training regularly. I was going every single day. Then I hurt my back, and it was related to something outside of golf. And I went from playing golf every single day in the morning, and sometimes even in the afternoons, and all the way down to I haven't touched a club. Actually, I still have a club right there. And I keep it just for purpose of, keeping my grip and my forearm, because those get sore whenever you get back into it. But I haven't touched a club and actually hit a few balls since June of this year, which sucks. And people don't know, but it's November 21st. So for somebody that was playing that much golf, it really, really sucked. But I intend on getting back. So I haven't even looked at my notes. I haven't done anything. Actually, I've been focusing heavy on this podcast. So that's where my golf time has gone.
Well, what you should do if you get injured like that, if you can still walk, if you're still able to bend slightly, is to really practice your putting and chipping while you have any type of major injury. If you can do that, obviously nothing more than just a chip where you take the club back a foot or 2 feet and just work on your finesse and work on your touch. And that'll kind of help you probably with some of the other swings when you get back and are able to make some longer swings. So try to even get a little putting mat here.
I do. I have 2.
Okay.
Yeah. So I should do that. And I was putting for a while. Yeah. And I'm still using the system. So, but anywho, so are there some technical tools that you think you would benefit from being as a PGA golf coach? What technical tools do you need, if any?
We don't necessarily need technical tools, but other technical tools that could work is various software before and after type swings. For slow motion, there's various software that's out there. There's also different, let's say, swing monitors. If you think that could also help you to kind of show you what the speeds are, the distances, or the different paths. So there's a variety of different things that are out there on the market.
I feel like golf has a plethora of equipment and things that you can purchase to enhance your game. But I would say lessons make a bigger difference than any of that stuff. If you get trained instruction, it'll save you a lot more money than the 5,000 things that you can purchase. Okay. This is specific to you as a golf coach. Now that you have many years of experience, what advice would you give to Mike when he was starting off as a PGA golf coach?
Well, I think the most important thing is to know the different parts of being a coach. Certainly the ability to teach is one, the ability to attract new students, the ability to follow up with them. I think what you really want to do is have a good game plan of the type of coach that you're going to be, the amount of time that you have to spend, let's say, marketing, the amount of time that you want to spend on administration. So it's very important to have kind of a sense as to how much time you want to put into it and how much effort you want to put into it. So having a good game plan in that way, I think is very important, because you could do things a whole host of different ways, but knowing what your positive attributes are and what your negative attributes are and what you want to focus on with students. You could go and teach someone in a variety of ways, but you have to have a sense as to how you do it and what you do, and be committed and also confident in your delivery and how you're helping somebody to improve, like you're saying, with this language, this golf language. How am I going to get someone from here, where they might know nothing, to getting them so that they can play with their friends and be invited, in a foursome, or be invited to a country club, or to be able to play decent golf. So you have to have a good sense of who you are, what type of business person you are, but also know what type of teacher and what you're trying to accomplish with a student, or with yourself, or with your business.
Fair enough. Now, we talked, all my other guests, I asked them what is the best career advice that they've received and what is the worst career advice that they've received. With you, given the nature of golf, it's a tricky one. What is the best golf advice that you have ever received? And if you had to, trim it down to one piece of golf advice, what would it be?
And you asked me this even before we got started. And I would have to say is the best piece of golf advice is just to enjoy your work and to make sure that you're asking people how you're doing and what they're doing to improve their lives and to improve their game. So make sure that it's not about me, but make sure it's about the other people, your students.
That's pretty good.
That's something that I offer to myself when I'm thinking about what I want to accomplish. I think if I focus on their improvement, and I know that I'm doing a good job. So that's more advice that I give myself. If I know that they're happy and that they're improving and that they understand what their capabilities are and how to improve, then I think I'm doing my job. And that's something that when I go into work every day or teach my students is I'm focused on them and their improvement and their enjoyment of the game. I want to make sure that they want to come out to the golf course more. That's my most important job. Is not how well they're improving. That's obviously right up there next to it. But I want to make sure that they enjoy the game enough that they want to come back out and come out more often and not come out less. Like they say, grow the game. I want to make sure my students love the game and want to pass the game on. Because I know if they pass the game on, they love the game, and I'll get referrals. And they have other friends who want to improve just like they are. And I love that. That's my favorite thing, where I'll start with a student who's the worst of the foursome. And then all of a sudden they take 12 lessons and they're the best player in the foursome. And everybody's left in the dust. That's my favorite thing.
So what's the worst golf advice that you've ever received?
I'm not sure if I've really received any horrible golf advice. Probably the worst thing that I get is probably attitude. A lot of times, sometimes I'll talk to people who don't have a good attitude. And I think in order to succeed and to be someone that your demeanor and the way you feel about life or the way you feel about your work or about golf, since you've even stated how difficult it is attitude. And attitude comes across. And when it comes across, the person might be down on their luck or something, but you got to have some level of understanding and confidence about what you do. So I would say the worst advice would be just watching somebody have a bad attitude about golf or their career or what they're doing, more so than what somebody's told me good or bad.
Fair enough.
And I think in these days right now, despite everything that's happening in medical, politics, careers, you have to make sure that you wipe the slate clean and that you have a good attitude, ready to learn and ready to accomplish and ready to do some new and big things that can really help people. And I think if you could do that as me as a teacher and as an educator and teaching the world's toughest game, if I can bring a positive attitude and tell someone that they can do it, if they fight hard and really get past those tough afternoons when they're on the driving range on the golf course, if they really want something, that they can do it.
Fair enough. Okay, so now we're done talking about the PGA Golf Coach profession. For anyone that's out there, to pass the player's ability test, you have to be pretty damn good. How the hell do you get to, how do you become a scratch golfer? Like, take me through, I want to know what you expect in each element of the game, how much somebody should actually need to practice, what age you would recommend that they start at, and things of that nature, because I think these things actually matter. Golf is not a sport where your body can just, magically take you to professional level and compete with somebody at, Rory's level. Like, that's not going to happen if you're 35 years old. So take me through some, how to play golf at a high level. Let's start with how to become a scratch golfer.
How much time do you have?
Let's narrow the answer then.
Maybe a minute or two. Well, I think in order to become a scratch golfer, there's a number of things that have to happen. Certainly you have to have the time. And with the time, you probably need to get to the range at least 2 or 3 times a week and spend anywhere between an hour and 2 hours hitting golf balls. You also need to spend probably 30 or 40% of that time, or even additional time, working on your short game. So working on your putting, working on your chipping, your pitching, your bunker play. So you need to have the time to invest in the long game, hitting from whatever driving range that you have, as well as to spend time around the greens. So you probably need anywhere between probably 4 and 10 hours a week just practicing. Then you probably need to play at least once or twice a week to continue on that improvement, taking what you learn on the practice tee or on the short game to the golf course. You also need instruction. You probably need to take, I'd probably say anywhere between On the very low end, 40 lessons. On the very high end, probably upwards of maybe 100 or 150 lessons. It also requires some time. It takes time, just as when I mentioned Maggie, she was shooting 110, 115. It took her about a year to get to the low to mid 90s. Then it took about another year to get, let's say, to the low to mid 80s. It took another year, let's say, to shoot, let's say, in the mid to high 70s, and then another year to shoot in the low 70s. So a lot of times with golf, even though you may have one round that is an aberration, most of the time you're moving down or moving in the lower scores in various chunks. So it's very important to have a near-term goal, or let's say a 6 or 12-month goal. And practice, repetition, making sure you have the right coaching to make sure that you're not moving in a off direction, that you're in a direction for improvement. And that can be your setup. It could be your certainly alignment, posture, some of the things we talked about, hand position, ball position, path, club face, balance, knowing what to play. All these things are part of the maturation process. It's like learning a language.
Mm-hmm.
And once you have, let's say, that time management, that ability to understand what you need to improve, and then you actually do it, to have somebody monitoring it, having a pro or having a set of eyes who can see that you're moving along that path. All these things count to help you become a scratch golfer.
Okay.
Playing in tournaments can also help you.
So I'm gonna hold you honest on this. So 4 to 10 hours a week, plus you recommended at least 1 to 2 times playing. So that's a 20-hour golf commitment. Now, if you do that for, let's say, multiple years, well, because I mean, it's not going to happen in 1 year. How many years do you think most people, let's say medium athletic ability, take good instructions, taking weekly lessons, putting in 20 hours, broken down into 10 hours of practice and 10 hours of play. How long do you think it takes for somebody to get to become a scratch golfer?
Probably anywhere between 2.5 to 4 years.
With that level of commitment.
That's right. Now, I had a student a number of years ago. His name was Dylan. I gave him about 30 hours worth of lessons over about a 6-month time frame.
Mm-hmm.
And he ended up starting from, like you would start at 130, 140, 150, and he ended up shooting 75.
Mm.
So it took me about 5 months to get him to shoot a 75. But he was a superior athlete, a newbie, barely could hit the ball.
Okay.
So he was practicing every day, hitting hundreds of balls a day, taking 30 lessons from you over a 5-month period. He got the shooting that number from being an excellent athlete, practicing hitting a lot of balls, working on the short game. Now, becoming a scratch golfer, you have to be a little bit better than 75. You have to shoot a couple rounds in there around 71 or 72. But in general, about 2.5 to 4 years, if you have everything set up just right, in terms of your time, your practice, the coaching, the short game, commitment, attitude, playing in some tournaments. If you can do that, you have a good chance.
How do you play in tournaments? Is anyone welcome?
Well, yeah, I think a good place to start in Virginia is the VSGA, Virginia State Golf Association. You can go to vsga.org. They have some really excellent tournaments that they play on Mondays and Fridays. So someone who was, let's say, a 25 handicap, they could play at a golf course, let's say like Potomac Shores or Evergreen, really nice golf courses for between $60 and $80, and play in a tournament, a Monday 18-hole golf tournament where you keep score. You have a net winner where they do it based on handicap and a gross winner. You can also get a handicap through the VSGA as well. So that's a good place to at least go look and try to get in some, let's say, one-day tournaments. And certainly when you get a little bit better, you can play in some amateur tournaments. You can play in some open tournaments that allows amateurs. So anything that you can do to test yourself is always can also be very, very helpful.
Where did the crowd start appearing?
Well, I think probably around the Corn Ferry. You know, they have crowds now at some high school tournaments, where people following that type of stuff. Now, let's talk about young people. There's various groups that have young people's golf. U.S. Kids Golf is how I got my daughter involved. We played in some Virginia, but in U.S. Kids Golf, U.S. Kids Golf or uskidsgolf.com. Great place to start. You can buy kids golf, golf clubs, get in golf tournaments. They have a world championships of golf down in Pinehurst. Great place to start.
Fair enough. So how do people actually become pros? Like, take me through some of the younger years of their life. What would you recommend? And you've been around the game so long. So, I mean, you've had the opportunity to see people go from when they were young children all the way to potential pros or pros. So what's the trajectory that you would recommend or that you think is prevalent in the actual game?
In terms of trying to become a pro?
Yeah.
Well, certainly, becoming a very good high school player is very important. And being able to be recruited by, let's say, a top college, getting a scholarship in golf.
What's a very good high school player? Like, what is that? Like, who's going to get recruited?
Very good high school players probably shooting on average about anywhere between 68 and 73. Scratch handicap, may have done very well in some local competition, is participating in some national tournaments or national amateur type tournaments and performing very well. So that way the college coaches know that person, when they're playing in a tournament, they're going to be able to perform.
So you would say, obviously great scores, but also need some of that experience playing at a tournament level. Where do college recruiters actually pick you up from? Like, I mean, there's thousands of tournaments going on around the country. Where are these recruits? Are they spying on you?
Well, it's a good question. There's certainly a number of companies and management companies that will get your name out and show you how to get your name in front of the college coaches. But certainly, I think if you have kind of an understanding of where you'd like to go, is to make sure that you have some level of relationship with the college coaches. Now, certainly, if there are recruiting issues, there's certainly things you can do and not do. But making sure that when you go to top amateur tournaments, that you play well and you get noticed. And so that way these coaches know who you are, know what your performance is, and know that you can certainly help their program out. Everybody wants a better program.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have what it takes to shoot the scores and be a contributing member and be in good standing and be good for the team, I'm sure that you're going to get noticed.
Fair enough. So you make it to college and you have a really good D1 career and then you just go pro?
Well, at that point, then you can certainly turn pro, but then there's various mini tours that are abundant, let's say in Florida or Texas or Arizona. You go to the mini tour event route. Then there's also various other tournament type settings like a Corn Ferry tournament, Corn Ferry system, where it's the minor leagues of the PGA Tour. So these are the type of systems or type of locations, type of tournaments where you can go through in order to get the experience so that at one point you can go ahead and try to qualify for the PGA Tour. The PGA Tour has a local, a sectional, and a national type tournament where you have to compete in 3 different levels in order to get to the PGA Tour. But at this point right now, it becomes newer and different every year. They change the setup quite often for that. So where people were getting on the PGA Tour prior is a little different right now.
Fair enough. Well, before we finish off, anything you'd like to tell the young folks playing golf out there?
Well, I think the most important thing about golf is to enjoy yourself. That most people's lives can be very stressed. Certainly the world around us can be very stressed, but going to the golf course or going to practice can be really therapeutic and fun. Meeting new people, going to new places, trying something that's very, very difficult, but also can be a great thing to do in terms of visiting new places or having fun or engaging with other friends. It's a lifetime sport. So
yeah, it is.
Everybody's playing basketball or playing, some type of pickup basketball or football or lacrosse or whatever. But usually when someone gets around 35 or 40, their friends start playing golf, and being able to play golf can be play till the end.
Yeah.
Let's just say. The other thing is that you can certainly be invited to some really fun places if you know how to play golf, and just having that camaraderie and being able to go places and enjoy is a great thing to do. So it's also, they say golfers live the longest.
Really?
So by all that walking and staying healthy and flexible.
It's crazy. So it's so funny. Everything that you're saying right now, I'm having like a blast in my head laughing. You said it's very therapeutic, and I was just thinking. So I was playing golf down at Herndon once, and there was this PGA Pro who happened to be in the foursome that I was playing with, and he used to be an ex-pro. And this guy missed 3 drives in a row, and he was so livid. He smashed his driver. And I couldn't stop laughing because, I mean, he was so good, but to the level of perfection that this game commands, it could be frustrating at times. So it was just funny when he said therapeutic.
But the only thing you have to do is just go on the internet, and watch all the crazies on the golf course. So golf is, it can be fun.
Yeah.
Just being out there.
Oh, I love it. It's awesome. It's definitely awesome. But I mean, if you take the game too seriously, it's a frustrating process too, right? Because, you always think about where do you want that ball to go. And, if you don't have a good command of the sport, it doesn't listen to you very frequently. And that could, mount frustration will just increase and increase per hole. And sometimes it trails into multiple holes. So, I mean, most people that are playing golf for fun aren't really, getting mental training, from professionals on how to remain calm during, or how to manage the course and things of that nature. So, I mean, there's so many elements to the game. It's a fun and beautiful sport. So, well, thank you so much, for coming here and sharing, the life of a PGA golf coach. Appreciate it. And if you guys live in the Virginia area and want some, training, and golf instruction, call Mike. I'll definitely put his information there.
MikeVGolf.com. And thank you for some great questions. Good luck with the My Career Shop. I really love your setup. Your questions are great, and I expect big things from you.
Appreciate it, man. I'll be back playing golf soon.
Okay, let me know.
All right.
Well, that's it for this episode of the My Career Shop podcast. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope you have a better idea of how to become a pro golf coach and what to expect when you actually become one. In terms of becoming a scratch golfer, this just in. It ain't easy, and no surprises there. Details about this episode and the career of a golf coach are on the My Career Shop website, links to which are either in the description below or show notes based on where you are watching or listening from. If you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button, leave a review, and comment on what professions you want me to invite next and what other information you would be interested in learning soon. See you soon.